Welcome back. You're watching ED Inside. FDI is shrinking around the world and India is no exception. But India needs FDI if it wants to achieve its ambitious growth targets. So what can the country do to attract more foreign capital? Supriya Srinath caught up with Soumitra Choudhury, member of the Planning Commission and also member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, to get a sense of the government strategy.
As long as we can make business reasonable, friendly, the rules clear-cut and reasonable for domestic companies, I don't think we'll have a problem attracting FDI. But if we do not meet that first criteria, then I think attracting FDI will be a bit remote.
Why is it so that India is an attractive destination for money coming into equity markets, but not such an attractive destination when it comes to FDI?
You must ask yourself the question, where did Infosys and Wipro and TCS and all these companies obtain their financing from in order to create the assets and the jobs they created? A lot of it has come from FII investment in their equities. These FII investment in equities have helped capitalize manufacturing companies, service sector companies, telecom companies to do the job that they are doing. They are a very integral complement of the FDI process. The FDI has certain other, let's say, intangibles which are, I think, beneficial. For instance, it brings in technology, which FII generally does not. FDI brings in a different kind of a commitment for the FDI strategic investor. So these are variants on a theme. The point is that they are all investing in equity, which is the serious price downside, just like it's got a price upside.
That's right.
And they're taking a risk in the growth of the economy. And I think people tend to sort of, I think, make that come to the erroneous conclusion that somehow buying equity in the secondary market has got nothing to do with the capacity for the firm to invest in capital. Of course it has. Even FDI, a lot of FDI has changed in its nature. I mean, there was a time when FDI used to be basically a large multinational corporation setting up shop in a country that did not have presence in. Now a lot of FDI is coming in the form of private equity. Now, how does a private equity guy that eventually recoup his finance? He recoups his investment by selling it in the stock market.
That's right.
So if you don't have essentially a thriving stock market, you are going to close out the PE route, which today is competing almost head on with the traditional FDI in the FDI route. The PE is not a business which is overnight. It takes 7 years to build a company up.
And stay invested there.
And stay invested. Once the company matures and they have value now in the investment, that is when they tend to exit. So it takes, even in telecom business, I think one of the big PE firm made a huge amount of money in one telecom company,
right.
but it stayed invested for almost a decade. So it takes time. Now, without, however, the exit route available, these guys wouldn't come into the first place.
That's right.
So I think one must see this as a complement. There are two kinds of channels, and they work to complement each other rather than as competitive alternate solutions. One doesn't exist without the other.
It's surprising that the M&A activity has seen a spike, and a smart spike this fiscal, but the green field has dropped. Would you contribute that drop to global factors alone? And considering India is a good growth market, M&A activity is happening?
My information is one of the reasons FDI is down this year is PE is down. And PE is a bit down because PE mobilization has been weak. That's one. Second is that there were a lot of PE which was FDI but which is real estate oriented. And that's less now. So I don't think it's because, you will be right for all I know. I don't have enough information to be able to contest that. That is because of greenfield vis-a-vis M&A.
But the fact is that there are very many issues here in India that need to be sorted out. I mean, some of the investors that you speak to, that's exactly what they say, land acquisition, the red tapeism. Some of the big ticket investments made here have still not got the green signal. Just to get your view on this, how ailing are those issues really?
I think those issues are serious issues. Whether it's a matter of foreign investors or Indian investors, I think they're coming up against similar problems where when they have a business plan where they envisage, look, it's going to take so much time to get all the clearances in place, and then you can break ground and start the whole investment, and it doesn't happen in that time frame, or some surprises pop up. I think that's the problem everybody is facing, not just foreign investors. Domestic investors too are facing that problem. And we need to, in a sense, get that act together and prevent that from happening. Because if we don't do that, clearly the tempo of investment is going to come down. And that's not good for our country because we have a shortage of almost everything except hot air.
Land acquisition is perhaps one of the biggest things that ails any investor coming to India. Unlike in the West or unlike in other markets, we give permission on the basis of very little land available, and then of course they've got to go and acquire land. Do you think those things need to be addressed a lot before? And then of course the environmental clearances, it takes forever. POSCO, one of the biggest proposed FDIs in the country, has still not taken off, is still not off the ground.
It's a very complex issue because land for a farmer is his or her social security. You have to be very careful about doing it. Now there's a big difference when it comes to large industries. We need greenfield sites like POSCO, the example that you cited, and the bulk of industry doesn't need that much space. So what the greenfield sites, I think, are problems. Each one of them a problem of its own kind, and it's hard to say they can have a generalized solution. But in the case of units which basically require few acres, 20 acres, 30 acres of land to come up, I think we should actually push forward the process of building up industrial estates which can accommodate such units. It will help in the form of being able to centralize clearances. Clearances will get done easily. Certain common infrastructure facilities like roads, railway sidings can be built in place easily, and you can get them off. And it's not that it hasn't worked. It has worked in many sites that I have myself seen.
That's right.
And we should really expand the scope of that so mid-sized companies, mid-sized units can move in without a delay. As far as large units are concerned, I think the government is working on some kind of a land acquisition bill, and it has to work that out, work it through. I really am not privy to all the details, nor do I claim to understand all the complexities involved. But when you're talking about thousands of acres of land, I mean there are many, many problems.
Do you think most of these issues are something that policymakers are taking a note of? Are they losing sleep over this at all? Or are there perhaps bigger issues to worry about?
No, I think people should be worried about it, and must be worried about it. But if FDI is indeed flagging, but I think the morphology is that what is flagging is really important. If it is because only because there are delays in clearances, then it I think speaks very poorly of our system, and we need to address it. If it's a combination of factors in which this also has a role to play, I think that's another kind of ball game.
But that's all in this edition of ET Insight. We'll be back next week, but until then, don't forget to write in with your feedback and suggestions. Thanks so much for watching.